President Trump in a new interview floating an ominous idea, the possibility of investigating former President Joe Biden.
This guy went around giving everybody pardons. And you know, the funny thing, maybe the sad thing, is he didn't give himself a pardon. And if you look at it, it all had to do with him. I mean, the money went to him.
Should Congress investigate that?
Well, I don't know. It's, you know,
Well, you ordered the DOJ.
I've always been, look, he didn't give himself a pardon.
I want to bring in senior political correspondent for Puck, Tara Palmieri, former senior advisor to the Bernie Sanders 2016 and 2020 presidential campaigns, Chuck Rocha, and former senior advisor to the Trump-Vance 2024 presidential campaign, Brian Lanza. I'll begin with you, Brian, on this. Is he threatening to investigate Biden? Did you interpret it that way?
Listen, I didn't interpret it that way at all. I interpreted him saying, having gone through the experience of what I just went through the last 4 years, what a foolish decision was for Biden not to pardon himself given the current environment. And I think that's true. I mean, I think going forward, our partisanship is so toxic. What it is I think when a new administration leaves, they almost have to look and say, okay, how do we protect the people who've made some of these difficult decisions from these partisanship judiciary, this partisanship that takes place in the Justice Department? I think pardons becomes that answer. I think that's what he's saying. I don't view it as a threat to investigate, because you just look at the first term. He didn't do it the first term. Why would he do it the second term?
Can you imagine if Biden had pardoned himself, given the flack he's already gotten for his son pardon and his family members? How would that have looked?
Of course, it would have looked bad. It would have made it hard for a Democratic consultant like me who makes ads against Republicans for pardoning January 6 folks, because every time I bring that up now, they're going to come and everybody's going to go, well, what about all the pardons? This just goes back and forth and we never get there. Right.
Pardon family.
See there? That's what I'm saying. But this is a long stretch. Me and Tara were talking in the green room. Sorry, I'm going to bring it up. But there was a great letter that he had left to this president. Really nice. And we was talking about how nice it was. I guess we're throwing all that nice S out the window now, because now we're talking about coming after each other. Seems like we go back and forth, but in my mind, the way I think about this is it's just more red meat. You've seen the first 48, 72 hours. Everything he said he's going to do, he's did it, and he just keeps shoveling more red meat to that base.
Well, you know, Sean Hannity, he wanted to move on from this point. I don't know if he didn't want him to go down this road or he had other things to talk about, including things like the economy. Listen to this moment when Sean Hannity was like, something else you want to talk about? Watch.
Somebody advised Joe Biden to give pardons to everybody but him. They wanted to take care of the economy. They wanted to, I don't care.
They're yelling at me.
This is more important because right now the economy is going to do great.
Yeah.
He wanted to move on.
But this is top of Donald Trump's agenda. He's made it very clear it will be justice. Like, that is number one. It will be Liberation Day. It'll be Justice Day one. And I think, you know, the past 4 years, Donald Trump has said he has spent a lot of his time, his advisors, people closest to him, and their money, their life savings on defending themselves against the justice system. And I don't think he thinks that the administration before him can get away squeaky clean without having to go through the same sort of pain that they went through. I mean, he believes he is a victim, that he was prosecuted, persecuted, and targeted. And so that's why, I mean, he often brings up the fact that he never went after Hillary Clinton. You know, that's something he always talks about. He's like, I could have went after her and her emails, but I let that go. So I think that he's trying to say, like, that the entire landscape has shifted now and you're allowed to go after your predecessor.
Joining us now to talk about that, CNN political director and Washington bureau chief David Chalian. It's good to see you, David. So the president, that soundbite we played about the president talking about not ruling out investigating the former president, Joe Biden. What do you think the impact of that really is?
Well, I mean, I'm sure your ears perked up watching it when as mine did. It was like not entirely clear, but yet quite clear.
Right,
that
exactly. That's a perfect way of putting it.
That he was suggesting that Joe Biden made a mistake by not giving himself a pardon. Well, why would that be? Why would that be a mistake? And then he noted, again, without any facts or evidence that supports this, he says, you know, all the money business relationships that were being looked at ended up with Joe Biden. There's no evidence of that. But it is clear that he is still smarting. He, the president, is still smarting over what he went through the last 4 years of investigations, indictments, conviction. And this is part of his driving force. part of his greatest political comeback, I mean, he said it on the campaign trail, I am your retribution. And he sees this as an opportunity now to sort of check through a list of payback. And he's emboldened to do so. He's a term-limited president, assuming the Constitution doesn't change. He's never shown a ton of import or respect for building the Republican Party. It's been about Trump's brand. So I'm not sure he's all that concerned about downstream political ramifications for his decision making. And I just think, I'm not suggesting he will absolutely launch an investigation to Joe Biden, Kate, but clearly he wanted to throw that sort of chum in the water and keep it out there as a possibility.
And so this was his first big sit-down interview in the Oval Office. And with that, it's a real statement of priorities, at least where he is right now. I mean, what did you take from that whole interview, that whole sit down, and what it says about his focus as he takes office?
We've seen, I think, a bit of a bifurcated few days thus far. There has been a really aggressive focus, if you go through all the executive orders and a lot of the public comments, on immigration, which he believes, and he has said, is his very life force of a political issue since he came down the escalator nearly 10 years ago and launched his political career. And he sees that as an issue that voters absolutely affirmed his point of view on this election. So I think on the policy front, you see immigration front and center, far more so than the economy thus far. But what is also clear is that he is still the Donald Trump we all know him to be, which is consumed by personal grievance. And he thinks his return to the Oval Office means that this is payback time, payback favors for those that stuck with him, and perhaps payback in terms of retribution against those that were opposed to him.
When it comes to the economy, the thing that sticks with me is you saw it almost right after the election. When he's campaigning, David, he could bring prices down, and he's going to bring them down fast. It's going to happen on day one. Right after the election, the message completely changed to what is the reality, which is it is tough for any action by any president to impact the economy and to impact prices. So that it's almost like that is part of the undercurrent of the message in terms of priority or not, being in the foreground or in the background for him. Also, then I want to ask you about FEMA. He's traveling to California tomorrow to see fire damage there. You're also going to be in North Carolina seeing what still is devastating storm damage there. In this interview, he talked about, I think the way he put it was, wanting states to take care of their own problems instead of looking to the federal government and FEMA. What do you make of that?
Yeah, he was arguing, I think, that FEMA's far too bureaucratic, too much red tape to go through, and he wants to clear that out of the way. The question is, who pays the bill? States don't have unlimited resources the way the federal government does. This is part of why Joe Biden told Gavin Newsom before he left office that the federal government would take up the full bill for getting Los Angeles back on its feet. It sounded to me in the interview last night when he said, you know, we really need to get FEMA out of the way and let the states drive this. To me, it sort of begs the question, okay, but who's paying that bill, and how are the states going to be able to afford everything they need to do, both in North Carolina and in California, to get their residents whole again and back on their feet? That I don't think we heard a full explanation on.
Yeah, it's money, it's the bill, and also it's the manpower and the resources of getting people on the ground to assist people in the immediate and the long term in their recovery. I mean, you know, you have FEMA still working in these storm-ravaged states in Florida and North Carolina trying to help people recover still. David, it's good to see you. Thank you.
You too.